I'm Rachel Unthank, and me and my sister Becky are folk singers from the North East, and we're about to go on a journey around England to unearth the treasures of our national dance. Our quest will take us through the back gardens and narrow streets of the country to discover if there's anything out there. It's a journey that takes us through the varied regions of our country, through the curious world of people, towns and villages where the most surprising of dancing can still be found. But it's also a journey through time and personal memory. And along the way, we hope to find out how the need to dance is just beneath the surface of our everyday lives, if you know where to look. We come from a village near Newcastle on the Northumbrian border. We grew up doing Northumberland and Durham style clog dancing. Our clogs, they're like leather shoes with a wooden sole, and they were just what people used to wear at work. So in this area it was in the mines. It's come out of the industry of the area. It makes a good noise, and it was a way for working people to earn a little bit of extra money. It's about a way of life. We've always clog danced, and we've spent so many great times with our family travelling around the country.
Our dad, George, is a rapper dancer, which is another style of dance from the North East. It's quite fast and flashy.
They dance in a very tight-knit way with the people that they work down the mine with. It gives you a real connection to where you live, and I think you don't think about that so much as a child, but definitely as I've become an adult, you know, I've realised that I have a skill that's very linked to my region.
It's hard for English people to grasp that they've got their own tradition because they're so used to seeing Scottish or Irish traditions. It's a shame because, you know, there's a lot of dance and song and music.
We know a lot about our own tradition, but it'd be great to actually see other traditions in different parts of the country. We're curious to find out how much of our national dance is still alive.
We've decided to spend the spring and summer months to find out how much of it is left.
What does it mean to the people and the places that it belongs to? And what does it mean to our national identity? The first place that we're off to is an industrial town in the Lancashire Pennines. Bacup is a mill town which lies on the border between Lancashire and Yorkshire. It's the home of the Britannia Coconutters, who dance through the streets of Bacup every year on Easter Saturday. If you've never seen the Britannia Coconutters before, you're probably in for quite a surprise because it's nothing that you could ever imagine. They really capture your imagination because they kind of look a bit Greek in the costume. And then the little wood things, I mean, it's such an unusual kind of branch of traditional dance.
They look quite crazy, but most dance teams' costumes look crazy.
It would be really difficult to try and describe the Coconutters. They kind of appear to be wearing skirts, got blacked up faces. We've grown up in a dance team, so we have seen a lot of weird and wonderful dance costumes over the years, but Bacup is definitely something quite unique.
This is supposedly an authentic Moorish pirate's outfit. history says that Moorish pirates, who are of African origin, came through France into the Cornish villages. The Cornish men imitated the Moorish pirates, made a folk dance of it, and they brought it to the Lancashire men when they taught them how to quarry stone as their tin mines started to run out.
So tell us about these bits.
Well, they're the nuts, they're what we call the acoustics, and as the dances progress, they beat out a rhythm, you see. It tells a story, you see.
Right.
There's the listening, isn't there?
Oh, what's that was about?
Oh yeah, well you see, when you had a rock fall, the thing were to do, you banged on a water pipe. So you're telling a story, is there anybody there? Is there anybody there? You know. We black our faces up as a disguise as we dance and move the autumn and winter spirits away and dance springtime and fertility in. And it's all part and parcel of the tribute that we pay to springtime.
What's your theory on the costumes and and everything?
You get a different story every year, really. I have absolutely no idea. Most of the people who watch them actually don't care.
You spend the whole day on the go, travelling from one place to another. It's pretty difficult to keep up with, really.
The villages which run from Bacup down the valley towards Rottenstall all had a team of dancers similar to ours, all doing the dances that we continue to do today.
There's evidence of Bacup's once thriving industry all around us. Their mills and chimneys are still a striking part of the landscape.
The coconutters were obviously working men, just like the dancers of the northeast.
It's got to be said, quite rightly, that something like this that these very hard working men were doing in terrible conditions on these quarries, that they were having a bit of escapism. To them it was a special thing because it gave them a day out and then it took the pressure of the working life off them.
All right, mate. Oh, you bring back memories.
It's great fun. You forget what a good time just a bunch of blokes can have on their own.
How are you doing on the beer front at the moment?
Well, okay, yeah, I'm joining Worcester. Yeah, we put down our demands on the landlords to half a pint of a pub.
How many pubs do you get to?
I don't know.
Lost count, a fair few.
Yeah.
So somebody was telling me, right, that the colours on your hat depend. Are you a lady?
Yes.
So,
Yes, Ozzy.
So you're both ladies because you've got blue on your hat.
That's right, yeah.
And if you've got red on your hat,
You're a gent. That's right. That's right.
The grandmas always remember when they were children and they saw the coconutters and how they hung on to the mammy's skirts. And the children today are still a bit the same, but the children are a thrill to watch. As you're dancing on the sidelines, you'll see the kiddies, and they always mimic you. They are always doing the hand clapping and the steps, you know.
So have you grown up with the coconuts?
Wherever I've lived, I've always come back every Easter Saturday, apart from one when I got married on Easter Saturday. So that's the only one I've missed, yeah.
On Easter Saturday we are owned by our people. Nobody can say anything bad against us because the Britannia Coconutters are an institution in Bacup. Bacup's got no steam trains, it's got no canals, it's got nothing else, but it has got the Britannia Coconut dancers.
It's great for the community all to get together and celebrate Easter like Christmas or New Year and have a tradition that's theirs.
That helps them mark the passing of the year in their own unique way. The month of May has always been the time for people to come out and celebrate the end of the winter.
starts on the 1st of May at dawn, making sure the sun comes up.
It usually comes up just over there.
The beginning of the sun.
It almost feels like the air is alive with a sense of anarchy.
I'm Rachel, pleased to meet you.
Nowhere more so than in the Cornish town of Padstow, where two teams of hobby horses tear through the streets every May Day.
May Day in Padstow is something else. The two horses come out and the people come out, the drums, the accordions, the sound, the whole thing swells up. And it's almost like charging the pacemaker of the community. The clenched fist against the modern day. It's, their community, their obios, their May Day. In the early days, a lot of the old people used to do this and dance and step, and it was almost like caressing the horse's face. And then it got to that because of the pressure of crowds. So the hands were up there, and it almost became like disco dancing.
This sense of jubilant revelry contrasts with the rather twee image we have of village greens and maypoles.
Most villages would have had a maypole on their village green, and people's dancing around a maypole was in a circle, holding hands. The Victorians were very keen on cleaning up and tidying up a lot of our seasonal festivals. May Day was one that they really did get hold of. They invented the maypole with streamers that children dance round. They gave us this notion of children dressed in white, pure and simple and nice.
We've come to the village of Moulton in Northamptonshire, where locals have embraced this Victorian reinvention of May and made it their own.
The lipstick comes on automatically when I put the rest of the gear on.
Really?
Oh yeah. This is the preparation of the Moulton May cart. Now, Moulton have had a tradition of taking their May Queen off to her crowning and then in procession all around the village every May, right back into Victorian times.
Really?
It's an old tradition. We found a picture of a cart from the early 1920s, about 21, 22, and they'd actually built hoops all over the cart with greenery on. So we sort of took the idea and just extended it to the poles to put this cart.
It looks really beautiful.
This is really the start of summer, isn't it, when you get the laburnum and the lilac.
And it's a beautiful day.
It is, yes, yes.
You look beautiful, both of you.
Of course, no May celebration would be complete without one group of dancers.
Fantastic.
It's not warm yet. I need to warm it up a lot.
We were always kind of brought, in a silly sort of way, brought up to think that like rapid dancing was manly, which it is, kind of.
And the Morris dancing was for Southerners.
Ridiculing Morris dancing does seem to be one of our national sports.
It's a very English thing, and I guess probably laughing at it is also an English thing as well.
They'll say, oh, Morris dances, that's good to see, even if they then turn around and walk away rather than watch it. It happens all the time.
So why do you Morris dance?
Well, I got into it through family, and then these lads sort of joined on from there. We've got my brother and my cousin and my uncle in, and then it's just our mates really.
So it's a family affair.
It's a family
really?
affair in Moulton, yeah, it is, yeah.
Because you are quite a young dance team, really, compared to some of them.
Compared to some, I'm sure, yeah. Here we are. We breed them.
You breed them.
Most people knock it because they don't know what it's about, really. They just think it's old men and beer bellies. But when we're dancing, we put everything into it most of the time. The crowd really lifts you, so you go at it really hard and make it as vigorous as you can.
And what keeps you Morris dancing, you know. You're old enough to choose for yourself now, and you're still doing it.
We just like going out as a group of friends, do a bit of dancing, have a few tunes and beer or two.
It's like it's almost like they're proving their manhood, you know. Look how high I can jump. It's brilliant.
All right, would one of you mind trying to show us how to twirl a stick?
One, that's the first one.
But it's down,
then go that
side
around. 1, 2,
Like that?
1,
Oh my
2.
God.
Like that. So you get as fast. Like that.
Oh, I can't do that. I cannot get my head around it. How's this for a beginner?
That's right, that's perfect technique. Spot on.
You were saying that women are not allowed to dance at this festival.
Not really.
Why is that then?
It's for artistic purposes. If you imagine, our stature is quite different, fairly different, and the centre of gravity is totally different. Yours is a bit more, and mine's definitely down here somewhere. And Morris, it was always based around that artistry. And to keep it the same, we have to stay men only.
There are different ideas about who can and can't do certain traditions. Men do clog dancing as well, so it wasn't really an issue for us.
Morris dancing tends to be the first thing people think of when they think of folk dance.
In fact, the hanky-waving variety is called Cotswold Morris and hails from England's rural Midlands. Only a handful of villages still have teams that have been around for generations.
One of them is Bampton, where at the end of May, the Morris dancers head out to celebrate Whitsun.
Just 8 miles out of Oxford, this farming community is now a popular commuter village, but it's still held on to some old ways.
Tomorrow is a special day for Bampton. It's our traditional day of dance.
In just 100 years, this tiny Oxfordshire village has gone from just 1 team to 3. The traditional Bampton Morris, the Bampton Traditional Morris, and Bampton Morris.
This is our final practice the Sunday before Whitsun. We practice on the Sunday dinner time, and then really you have a few beers and we're ready for tomorrow, the big day. Because it's a living tradition, we're all very nervous in Bampton dancing in front of our own crowd.
Wake up in the morning, you have your breakfast put in front of you, and you think to yourself, can I eat this? My granddad danced, my uncle Tony, he's a squire, my brother used to dance. You could probably make up a team of 6 just out of my family.
We don't have anybody in our team that is either born in Bampton or lived here for some time. So it sort of makes it unique.
We arrive at the crack of dawn to try and catch the first Morris dance.
Idyllic English country village.
I'm sure you'd like a piece of my cake.
Oh, I would love so.
But before you have it, I must warn you that it's got magical powers.
Right.
And if you have a piece of cake, be sure to tell your husband when you get home.
Apparently, you have to find the Morris dancers in the back gardens of Bampton's large houses.
Cottage, is that it? don't know.
It might require some serious navigational skills.
Thanks for your help. See you later. Oh, I can see them dancing. Looks great. They look like they've got a great garden.
Wouldn't fit in our garden. They're not going to hear us.
No one's going to hear them. They're all outside, aren't they?
Excuse me, is this Queen Street? Okay. She's as lost as us. Follow the crowd, Becky. Through this door.
It's quite exciting, isn't it? Secret garden. Not only do you get to see Morris teams, you get to see everybody's garden.
It's amazing to think that these dancers have been coming through these gardens every year for so many years.
Is this your garden?
This is my garden indeed.
It's beautiful.
We've lived here for 50 years now.
Really? And do the Morris dancers come every year?
Oh yeah, they come every year.
It was...
Can't do without them.
You start off, you have black jeans, white shirt, black shoes, and then hankies.
Yeah. Do you have to be dancing for a certain amount of years before you get bells?
No, you just have to earn them, really.
Really?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Just learning all the
no,
dances, or?
Just getting like your steps right. Really.
Yeah. I'm getting all Morrissey now, look. You don't mind then people coming tramping all over your garden?
No, not really.
It's very kind of you. I suppose though maybe if you buy a house in Bampton, do you accept that that's what's going to happen?
Yeah, because some of them, there's all sorts of traditions going back years. The house round the corner has to provide a barrel of beer.
Really?
That's written into the deeds of the house.
Really?
Where are you from? I'm originally from the Netherlands.
Amazing actually, so that's supposed to buy a house and have an English tradition come with it.
That comes with it, that's right, yeah.
It's like the owners of the houses are just the custodians of the tradition in a way, just as the Morris dancers are.
People may come and go to the village, but the dancers will always be there, whoever's living in those houses.
A lot of people actually, if they leave because they have to, because they can't afford houses around the area, because other people move in, still come back for Whitsun. It's their big event per year. They'd rather have Whitsun than Christmas. They wouldn't miss it for the world.
Morris dancing in my life has been since I was a little girl. I've lived in Bampton all my life, so Morris dancing was what we did at Whitsun. We came down and watched. My son, when he was little, he wanted to get out of the pushchair and throw hankies around in the air so that he could be like the Morris men.
I started when I was 6 and a half. My dad did it, my uncle is here today, he's done it for about 60 years. It's sort of part of your blood more than a responsibility.
How do you feel about other teams like around the country doing traditional dances from here?
Well, I haven't got a problem with that at all, because half the time they don't do it the same as us. All three teams in Bampton have got a very, very slightly different style. And that's because over the years, because it's a living tradition, it changes with the time.
The dancers and the people who live in Bampton, they need each other really. It's that relationship that's so special about the tradition and why it's done every year, and I think one of the reasons that they keep going.
But would Morris teams like Bampton have survived if it wasn't for the work of one man? Cecil Shott was an Oxford-educated musician who started collecting folk songs and many types of dancing from around the country over 100 years ago. We've come to the house set up in his name in London to find out more about this curious world.
Hello,
Hi,
nice to meet you.
I'm Rachel. Nice to meet you.
Welcome to the Heartland.
I know, it's great to be here with all these books and songs and dances.
Keep seeing words like ballads and songs.
Yeah. People saw that, you know, a lot of the music that was on the concert hall platform was coming over from other parts of Europe, from Germany, from Austria. And people were banging the tables and saying, well, what about the indigenous culture? What about English music? You have a Morris tradition that's kind of dying out in the 19th century, and certain individuals get interested in it. There's a revival of interest in Merry England, and they wanted to note it down and study it and preserve it. Sharp started collecting songs in 1903, but 1908, 1909 he then goes out to places to start noting down the dances.
And how did he note down the dances?
He had to devise a notation. I mean, it's quite impossible really to write down on a page what a dance looks like. Here you get all the descriptions and you get the names and the actual tunes. And you can see a kind of notation in evolution there.
Yeah.
From William Wells, that's Jingy Wells at Bampton, and that was on the 24th to the 26th of August, and that's going to be about 1907.
Wow. Oh, 100 years, over 100 years ago.
Yeah. Sharp was a 20th century interpreter of dance, and he changed some of the movements in there so that it was more adaptable to a 20th century audience.
Just more understandable.
Yeah, exactly. Had he not done this, then, you know, who knows how the tradition would have, you know, would it have continued?
For a lot of us, our first introduction to folk dancing is at school, doing country dancing.
I remember being in comprehensive school and there being a line of boys at one end of the hall and a line of girls, and you had to go over and pick your partner, and it was quite excruciating.
They thought that the idea of revival was going to be through education. Now, a lot of people will say, you know, what you do at school is the last thing you do when you leave. You don't do it.
Yeah.
There's something quite strange about a living kind of breathing tradition which continually changes and is very linked to a region, to something that then goes into a library and is written down and becomes something exact and in stone and gets replicated then throughout the country. And actually, it's great that Cecil Sharp's come along and written it down and preserved it so that people can use it as a reference. But really, that's just the shorthand for something which is actually physical and evolving.
I wonder how old a dance tradition has to be before a community feels like it belongs to them.
As we approach midsummer, we've journeyed to Penzance in Cornwall to see a relatively new festival known in the Cornish dialect as Golowan. This week-long festival was started just 20 years ago by a group of locals to celebrate midsummer.
In Cornwall, we're a long way from England. Before the coming of the trains, you could get to Brittany, 24 hours, Ireland, 24 hours, London, forget it. The Cornish identity arose about the same time in Cornwall as the very fierce Englishness of people like Cecil Sharp arose in England. And the two are almost parallel. In 1904, which is like the same date that Cecil Sharp's book came out, Cornwall was admitted to the League of Celtic Nations. And that's the point at which our modern Cornish identity can be pinned to. Golowan Festival is a new festival, but it's based on a much older one. It's based on the Fire Festival. It's the 23rd of June. It's just past midsummer, and the idea is they're like bonfires tonight to try and encourage the sun to stay on a little bit longer, if it will, please. And it's celebrating the turning of the year.
Well, for us in the northern
It does feel foreign.
It feels like coming abroad.
It does feel like
yeah, well,
it's
in
a
very
little
different.
town in Spain.
What
It's all a
we've
bit
got now
exciting.
is Penglaz, which in Cornish is the old grey head. And any second now we'll have this horse's head will appear from there somewhere and come charging down through us.
Brilliant. I hear there's even like a question whether or not the horse will turn up. Is that part of the mystique?
Well, it comes to part of the mystique. I think it'll turn up because I've come all the way to see it.
Me too.
Had his birthday on Midsummer and he wanted to do something special, so we had a little party and it kind of grew a bit.
Really?
So 20 years later, the whole town's like, woo!
It's kind of an invented event based on tradition, but for Penzance. The kind of sense of anarchy and freedom in it was quite invigorating and captured your imagination.
I think it's great to invent new traditions. I mean, they've got to start from somewhere. I think it's brilliant for a community to start one.
Yeah, because in 100 years' time that will be an old tradition, you know, and even if it only lasts a short time, then it's given pleasure and enjoyment and a sense of community to that community at that time. As the summer warms up, we're putting our clogs on and we're off to Suffolk to visit a group of dancers who are always on the move. Step dancing can be found throughout the country, but in the east of England it's especially popular among gypsy travellers.
We're all proper Romany gypsy people, all of us. And nearly all my brothers and sisters could dance. I mean, I can remember him dancing when he was much more than 8. And me and him are part of a family, 17 children, born of one woman and one man, right? And we was all born in horse-drawn wagons up and down England on the roads, the sides of the road somewhere. Yeah. See, years ago when all the people used to come, say, to Wisbech fruit picking, right? And there'd be every walker gypsy there was, from Yorkshire, Kent, Scotland, everywhere, Ireland, everywhere.
Every
you know
gypsy in the world was there, wasn't it?
And they'd all be there. And over night time we'd have a big fire and everybody would come round. And then all the boys and that would get up, have an old board and they'd keep running on and trying to dance and doing it. And the ones who could really dance would dance, do you know what I mean?
You know, years ago when you were little boys, like he said, Dad and them used to come back in the pub, put the lights and that on, chuck a board outside, a fire outside, and they'd make you dance. Little old boys, you know.
Everybody's different.
That's great.
You look at 50 tap dancers, everyone dances different. Don't look at your feet, just think about it, just think about it.
We're trying to do this when we shuffle, whereas this is more in the more like this. Yeah, I think you use your knees more.
You immediately think, oh, this is going to be, you know, we might be able to get the hang of this, but actually, the way they dance is it's so different to what we do.
Hang on. I can't do it. It's weird because we...
Like the style that you learn, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to put your whole foot down. You've got to stand on your toes
all the time.
So it's a little bit confusing.
No, it's good.
Just forget about your style for a
Forget
minute.
everything you learn.
Forget about Get on him, I'll get on.
Clog's all about being on your toes, and you're really supposed to put your heels down unless it's part of the step. How are you doing? Oh, what?
Everybody was really encouraged to get up and have a go, and it doesn't have such a strong sense of structure as the dancing that we've grown up with, and so you can kind of invent your own style, and that there's a great freedom to that.
It's a travelling dance, not influenced by the industry of that certain town or their surroundings. You just have a dance whenever you like.
Our journey takes us to the end of the summer and to the moorlands of Saddleworth on the outskirts of Greater Manchester.
The tradition we are going to see was once a common sight in the area. It died out but was brought back to life in the 1970s by a group of local Morris men.
I've been a member of Saddleworth Morris Men for 30 years, and I've been squire of Saddleworth Morris Men for 20 years. It's like a little lad in the run up to Christmas, really. We start the first weekend in August cutting rushes. On the last Friday, brought the rush cart out, and then we start building on the Saturday morning. When the church had a dirt floor before they had stone floors, they'd use the rushes as insulation. And every village or hamlet round about will build a rush cart, take them up to the parish church, and spread the rushes on the floor in autumn, and then over the winter the rushes would compose and warm the church up.
5:30 Friday night before rush cart. I'm doing my hat. It all has to be fresh flowers. I'm not allowed to put artificial flowers in our hats. If you have artificial flowers put in, it usually gets thrown across the pub. Now is the time that you realise it's rush cart tomorrow.
We've got photographs from the 19th century of people building rush carts here in this spot. And all those guys that are on those sepia photographs with the clogs and flat caps, they're all here on tomorrow morning when we bring it out. You can feel them, the atmosphere is just electric. There's nothing like it anywhere else on earth. Being a Saddleworth Morris man on rush cart morning. And we put a guy on top who sits there all day drinking beer from a copper kettle, and it's a position of honour from the ranks of Saddleworth Morris men.
Every jockey each year does their own banner, and obviously nobody finds out what they've done until the day that it comes out. So that's this year's rush cart 2010 is Florence Nightingale.
The townspeople used to do the rush carts. The Morris men do it because in the 21st century there are only a finite gang of idiots in any given area, and we're it round here.
Let's go!
I've never seen anything like it. It's amazing. So I think the men, they used to have horses, but now the Morris dancers are the horses. Wow, the horse Morris men.
Smile! I just had a magnet.
Oh no, I'll do my best to angle.
You see there's a man right on top, that's the jockey. It's amazing. It doesn't, yeah, I would not like to be up there.
Oh, you've got me all. What are you doing?
Oh, God. Go on. Oh, my God.
And so begins a day-long procession around all the local villages before it eventually reaches the church.
Oh my god.
I don't like that.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's got off the tree. Just a minor interruption. It's broken off the tree. The drama. You're one of the people who revived this tradition.
I'm the founder member. I was in the research many years ago and discovered the rush carts, and then discovered the guys in the area that did it originally. Some of them are still around. They thought it'd be a good idea to revive it, and they were too old, so was I interested, you know.
Right, I want to give us a willy in this dance. I want to get them blokes dancing.
So they're quite active in like encouraging.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's nice.
Oh yeah, still cost me lots of money in drink.
Yeah.
Flying stuff out in.
Entrusted you to carry on the tradition.
I was handed on the baton. That was in '74 when we revived the first one.
When the rush carts were being revived about 30 years ago, there was other important changes being made through the country.
What boundary matters more than between Yorkshire and Lancashire? But that goes, and a new county called Greater Manchester takes in what were once Yorkshire villages like Delph and Upper Mill.
Do you have this like double rose for Lancashire and Yorkshire?
Yeah, it's a Saddleworth rose.
Yeah.
The white rose in the middle.
Yeah.
They are in West Riding.
Yorkshire at heart.
Well, it's on my mum's birth certificate. She was born in Court Street, Upper Mill, West Riding of Yorkshire. And my mum, had she still been with us, would have said, and it's no moved.
Because Saddleworth is in a kind of debatable land,
No, it's
isn't
not
it?
debatable.
Well, supposedly. Legally, it's
no
part
debate
of...
about it.
Yeah.
It's in Yorkshire.
I was about 6, 7 years old, and I was in this village watching the rush cart, and I saw a man in Morris uniform with clogs on, and he slipped, and his clogs sparked, and I thought I'd quite like some of them, and I've been here ever since, and now I'm in charge. My job, basically, is to make sure the dances are right, and when I come out, really, it's just to stand at the front and shout at people, and I carry a whip just in case they don't listen to the shouting. Each village has its own dance. Some of those are based on traditional dances from those villages. Some of them didn't have a dance, so we put our name to it and made a dance up for them.
This will change some people's perceptions of Morris then, because there's lots of kind of tough northern working men doing it and drinking lots of beer already, and it's only 10.
Although this is still classed as Morris dancing, it's a very different style to the Cotswold Morris that we saw before. It's a processional style of dancing which has a real military feel about it.
This is the way forward. Morris, through and through. And beer, of course.
Going to back the cart up to the church door, I think. Here it comes. There's a real sense of kind of like it's full of light-heartedness, but there's also a sense of like seriousness about the fact that it is really heavy and it's kind of lethal, and that, so they've got to get it right. It's like military precision when we're walking up the hill and lift it up, keep it tight, put it around the corner.
say welcome to everyone. Very pleased to see you all here on this rush-bearing Sunday.
What are you doing there? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
It is quite interesting that it was an old tradition perpetrated by men, and a group of men have decided to revive it. Almost like there's a need for a social function to bring them together and to achieve something together.
It doesn't feel like a newly revived tradition. It feels like it's been there a long time and is part of the area. As we move forwards to autumn, we're going to a small village in Staffordshire for the last dance of the summer.
This tradition was never revived, it's continuous. It goes back hundreds of years through generations of local families, and it's the oldest dance that England has.
Why are we here this morning at the back of a butcher's?
I'm coming to pick my pig's bladder up ready for the day.
You don't see many around these days. They're hard to come by.
They're hard to come by, yeah.
So do you have how do you get yours?
Let's just say I get it.
It's not like I'm a vegetarian or anything. Oh, that really is a pig's bladder.
The Abbots Bromley Horn Dance takes place each year on the first Monday of September, and it starts in an unlikely place.
How does it sit against being in a church?
For me it sits all right. I mean, it's pagan with a small p, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's not exactly, it's not, it's friendly pagan.
We're following the dancers on a day-long trip through the countryside to the local stately home Bliffield Hall.
I live in Abbots Bromley. I've been here for about 25 years and watch the horn dance nearly every year. They're reindeer horns, so we think they came from Viking stock brought down the River Trent. One of the fragments of a horn was taken some years ago and carbon dated to about 1050.
That's so old, isn't it?
That's about all that's really known. No one knows whether it's a fertility rite or anything else. It's just theory.
It's quite really different.
It's really different from anything we've seen growing up or anything as well. It's really kind of magical and graceful, and the horns are absolutely beautiful.
Well, I've been in the horn dance 21 years this year. Started when I was 4 on the triangle. And then I've been doing the hobby horse for about 4 or 5 years now. The hobby horse, he's in charge of rounding all the deer up and keeping them in order. Supposedly Maid Marian kills him, but that's the story.
Oh, really?
Supposedly.
And the little lad that has the arrow, so is he firing? He's firing
He's
at you?
firing at me, that's right, yeah.
So he's trying to kill you as well?
That's it, everyone wants a bit of me, so.
Yeah, wearing a very fetching frock there.
Yeah, it's
Johnny.
the Maid Marian frock.
Do you feel silly?
Sometimes. Most of the time, though, around the rest of the group and that.
Yeah.
You get a bit of banter between them.
Yeah, it's a good laugh.
Yeah, they call it a cock and a frock.
As we're following the dancers, it's extraordinary to think that this path has been trodden for hundreds of years, and they've visited the same farms for hundreds of years.
I was told when I came to this farm about 40 years ago that it was my duty to continue the tradition by the previous farmer.
Really?
Yes, his family were here for about 100 years.
To do with superstition?
Not that I knew of. He never said it was superstition. He said it was fertility to help the crops and things like that. So I thought, I'd better stick with this one. Yeah, absolutely.
For him, then.
So it must have worked for him, and I think it's worked for us as well.
So how far do you reckon you've come today then? Good few miles?
Yeah. Halfway now.
Halfway?
Yeah, so far.
This may be our oldest tradition, but they have had to make a few concessions to modern life.
Didn't you used to actually
walk? It used to last for a week.
But now you've got a van, so you don't need to walk.
Finally, we're arriving at Bliffield Hall, where the Baggett family has greeted the dancers for many years.
We're waiting in the queue to speak to Lady Baggett.
Thank you for letting us come and see your gorgeous home and the Ford dancers. Is it something that you've watched all your life?
Not quite all my life, but quite a long time. It's 64 years since I saw the first horn dance.
Is it?
Yes.
Wow.
It was in 1946, and it was rather a misty morning. And the first thing we heard was the little triangle beating, and then we saw the tips of the horns coming up out of the mist from the mill down in the valley, and there was nobody else here at all. I felt as though I'd gone back in time. They've been coming ever since there's been a hall here.
You enjoy having them back every year?
Oh yes. Oh yes. It wouldn't be the same at all without the horn dancers.
What? Oh, sorry. Sorry, sir. One side of it.
We're really privileged to be allowed across the other side of the moat, because on the other side, well, the other commoners like ourselves.
We've managed to sneak in, it's brilliant.
Is it part of your family that you...
My dad's been doing it for about 42, 43 years. And then he asked me to come along and join him. And then this year, Ollie's big enough to sort of come out and do it.
So there's three generations?
Yes, there's 3 generations of our family, 3 generations of the Fowles, there's 2 generations of the Baileys.
We've met up with some of the members of the Fowle family. Their father, Doug Fowle, was a key member of the Horn Dancers.
Your family is linked very much with this tradition, is
it
that
is,
right?
yes, yeah.
And, but your dad only had daughters?
Yeah, 6 of us. It's more important, certainly to my dad, that it's Fowle family that were in it rather than people from the village or males.
Yeah. So was it quite controversial when you started dancing because you're a woman?
Yes. Wasn't it? Yeah, the folk circles didn't like girls being in it. Because even the day that I danced that day when I was 14, they christened me Ernie that day, and everyone was calling me Ernie, just because it was a male name.
Yeah.
You know,
So
yeah.
but it's interesting that outsiders didn't like it, but actually it's not theirs, it's yours, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's not really up to anybody else but people who do it, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not just a tradition, it's our family tradition.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, we feel like we want to be part of it, don't we?
This is a tradition that is safeguarded by family, but yet they're very welcoming to outsiders, and there's a very generous atmosphere about the tradition.
So have you seen the Abbots Bromley horn dance every year?
Every year, we celebrate every year.
What do you think of it?
Well, I thought it's a bit strange, you know, but it's a good day out for the villagers as well.
I'll give you that one.
The youngest.
yeah.
Oh, what do I do?
Right, just rest it on your, rest it like that, and then put one hand on there.
Not being rude, but hold the shaft.
I've got it. Rachel, they're 1,000 years old. Let's not have a fight with them.
Oh, I'm dizzy. Oh my God, it's heavy.
See, all these hours of studying the footsteps.
I know. It doesn't matter when you've got a great big thing on. As long as you go forward and backwards.
One of the admirable things about Abbots Bromley is the way that they bend the rules just to fit the times and to fit circumstances, yet they don't feel threatened that that might dilute their tradition, because there's an inner confidence that is unquestionable.
It's really good, hasn't it, Bex? It's really exciting. I can't believe I have horn danced. Our dad would be very proud.
He would, wouldn't he?
We've really done well. This first time, he's only just 5, and we didn't expect him to last this time, but he said he wanted to come back to church, and here he is.
Going on this journey has made us realise how fortunate we are to have learned a tradition, to have that skill and to be able to share it with other people as well.
It has made us think, what do we really know about our own tradition? And it's given us the thirst to learn more about that.
I think dancing is a real celebration of the physical form, and it's an opportunity to express yourself through movement, which you kind of rarely get. Although the English have a reputation for reserve, you can see how, like anybody else, we all have this impulse to dance and to hear music and to celebrate together. It makes people want to join in, and once they try it, they're captured by it. There's something very human about a need to belong to something, and this is just a really great eccentric way of doing it.
Really, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much out there, and you never know what's round the corner from you, across the river or over the hill. It's all around us. You've just got to seek it out.